Okay, trying this again. Here's your average scores with the 2021 numbers in here. Okay, so for academic year 2021, on your ACT for nationally, we've got a 20.3 for your composite. The average for the state of Florida was a 20.4. Now, this is the first year in 15 years that I've been doing this that our average in the state of Florida was actually above the national average. So, hey, go Florida. All right, now, the average SAT score for 2021. Your national average for 2021 was a 1060. Our average in the state of Florida on your SAT was a 993. This is a little more typical, but we see Florida is usually a little bit below the national average. Okay, so what's a good score and what's a bad score? Yeah, this question. Oh, Lord. Okay, so as with anything else in life, now listen, good and bad are always relative, okay? It depends on two things. It depends on the type of student you are and where you want to go to school. Okay, I had a severely, severely dyslexic kid. When he broke 1,000, we were dancing. All right, that was an awesome score for him. I had another kid who was in the IB program over at Strawberry Crest. Brilliant kid. When he only got 1,000, we were looking at him like, what the heck happened? We finally found out that he finally admitted the fact that he slept through part of the test. So it depends on who you are. It depends on what type of student you are. Okay. There are also people who are absolutely brilliant who don't take these tests well because, again, these tests make your brain work differently. So, how you do in school is not a good measure, again, of how well you're going to do on these tests. Okay. Now, as far as your SAT goes, again, people still want numbers. They want, okay, what's a good score? What's a bad score? So, let's just talk about some stats. Okay. So, if we look at just the percentiles, okay, in 2021, your top 25% of SAT test takers scored 1210 or higher. So if you're in that top 25%, if you're at 1210 or higher, you're in an excellent place. Yes, I know Bright Futures is 1330. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But you're still in a really good place if you're in that 1210 or higher. You're in the top 25%. Okay. Now, in 2021, the bottom 25%, we're at 890 or less. So if you're in that 890 or less range, then we have a problem. We've got work to do. It's not that you can't improve. It's not that you're like, well, I yield. No, it's that we have work to do, and we have a lot of things that we can do to bring that score up. Okay. Now, ACT. Again, the short answer as far as what the average is, your average score is a 20.4. And again, just like with your SAT, which I didn't mention a minute ago, your average is not only the average, it happens to also be the median. So your median is 20.4, which means that half your students are above 20.4, half of them are below. And the tests are actually designed to be this way, so it's not really surprising. But again, let's look at some stats. In 2021, your top 26% of ACT are at 24 or above. So again, if you're at 24 or above, you're in a good place. And again, we can look at the bottom. The bottom 28% of ACT test takers are at 16 or below. So again, if you're in that position, we've got work we need to do. So those are just some stats you can work with if you really want numbers. How can you improve your score? Of course, you can always improve your score. The first way is just to take the test. It used to be true that, you take the test 3 times and you're done. You're not going to improve anymore. We're not seeing that anymore. Okay, nationally, as tutors, when we talk, we're seeing kids take the test 8, 9 times. This is not unusual. Okay, and I'm sure I probably heard parents in the background like gasping, like, oh my God. And probably kids are going, I really don't want to take it that often. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Colleges really don't care anymore how many times you take the test. What the colleges are looking for is, are you improving? If you are improving, especially in the state of Florida, they know you're looking for that Bright Futures money. They really don't care how many times you take the test, as long as you're moving up, as long as we're doing better. Okay. Take a prep class. Take prep classes or multiple prep classes. My way is not the only way. I'm going to encourage you repeatedly to take multiple prep classes. Everybody's going to give you a different way of looking at these tests, and you need to pick and choose what's going to work for you. Okay. Anybody who tells you my way is the only way, ignore them. There's multiple ways to do these tests and multiple test strategies. The one thing I will tell you to do, though, is when you're looking at a prep class, make sure that that person is updating their materials on a regular basis for the SAT, because that SAT is a moving target. Again, they keep revamping that test over and over and over. Your ACT is nice and stable. Third bullet point down, take advantage of free resources. Khan Academy is out there. Now, Khan Academy, they're great for the English and reading stuff. Watch out for the math program. The math program with Khan Academy, they haven't updated their stuff since 2016. And in that 2016 revamp of the SAT, they're still using old materials from before that on Khan Academy. So you're getting questions that are outdated that they're no longer using, so you're kind of wasting your time. So I would avoid the math on the Khan Academy, but definitely use the English and reading resources out there for them. Free online practice tests. There are tons of them, and I'm going to give you some links for those in a minute. Smartphone apps. I'm going to give you one that I would love for you to get that's free. I'll give you that in a second. Library websites. Believe it or not, Hillsborough County Library actually has some great online resources. You just have to log in with your library card. If you don't have a library card, get one. It's free. School guidance offices. Some have some stuff for you that's really, really helpful. Some don't. But it's always worth checking out. All right. Know the structure of the test. This can really help you. Your reading comprehension questions on the SAT go in order of information in the passage with the exception of the main idea questions. So if you find the answer to number 3 in paragraph 2, then you know the answers number 1 and 2 have to be somewhere above it. Little tricks like that can save you a lot of time and effort. Build your vocab. We've already talked about this. You can work word lists if you want to. You can work flashcards around the house, however you want to do it. But again, the main way to build that vocabulary is by reading and working those wording context skills like we talked about earlier. Okay, process of elimination. Gotta love this. Guys, process of elimination is a huge thing on these tests. For every one right answer, there's at least 3, if not 4, wrong answers. So, see what you can figure out. So here's a good example. Who was the 13th president of the United States? I have no clue, okay? But if I'm looking at this list, I can eliminate people. I know it wasn't George Washington. He's the first. Tom Brady's a football player. That's 2 down. Barack Obama, he came way too late to be the 13th president. Millard Fillmore, I got no clue who that is, so I'm going to leave him in the mix. Joseph Stalin, well, he was a dictator in Russia. So it's got to be D, our buddy, Millard Fillmore. No clue who that is, but apparently he was the 13th president of the United States. Okay? Just use your process of elimination to figure it out. And we're going to do that a lot, especially in the grammar section. When it comes to punctuation, process of elimination is your buddy. Now make this an everyday routine. That's hard to do. You guys are crazy busy when it comes to school. A lot busier than I was when I was a kid. But this is where your phone apps are going to come in handy. Okay? Your phone apps are going to send you a question every day. It takes 2 minutes to look at that question and answer it. Okay? That's all it is, 2 minutes. But by doing that every single day, it's going to make your brain switch into that thinking differently mode every day. It's a subconscious thing. So that way on test day, it's easier for your brain to switch into thinking differently mode. Okay? It's a total subconscious thing, but it works. All right, next up is to get a prep book and work through it. Again, my recommendations are the Princeton Review. I think by far that gives you the best bang for your buck, and those are the ones that I recommend for my classes. They used to be called Cracking the SAT and Cracking the ACT. They're now called ACT Prep and SAT Prep. And again, those are by the Princeton Review. And then practice, 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 practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. And that's just like anything else. The more time and effort you put into it, the better you'll do. When should you take the tests? You should take the test probably as close to finishing the course as you can, at least for your first attempt. I gave you the links to register for your SAT and for your ACT up here, and I gave you the dates, the registration deadlines, and the late registration deadlines for the ones that we know so far. Your SAT has not put out the registration deadlines or the late registration deadlines for these guys later in the year yet. What you need to bring with you on test day, I'm not going to talk through this. You guys can read this. I think it's pretty obvious. Number 4, an acceptable calculator. Most graphing calculators are acceptable. If you are questioning whether or not all scientific calculators are acceptable. If you are questioning whether or not your calculator is acceptable, please ask me and I'll be happy to find that out for you. What do you not need to bring with you? Again, you can read through that. It's pretty obvious. Resources, please use them. Me, guys, if you have questions, whether you're working with me or not, please ask me. I'll be happy to answer. If I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. I don't believe in faking it till you're making it. If I don't know, I will tell you I don't know, but I will find out. The library, again, Hillsborough County Library System has a lot of stuff online that's actually really helpful. And all you need is that library card. Their printed materials are horribly out of date when it comes to SAT and ACT prep, but their online resources are actually quite good. Phone apps, Varsity Tutors, these guys right here. Those are the ones that I highly recommend for you. They have a ton of apps out there, so you want to make sure you get the SAT one and the ACT one. They're available for both Apple and Android. If you have trouble finding them, let me know. I'll be happy to send you links. They have free versions and paid versions. Get the free ones, guys. The only difference is ads. Prep books. There's tons of them on the market. Again, my favorite are the Princeton reviews. Both bang for your buck, that's for sure. Helpful websites. I gave you some there. Most of these websites have free areas and paid areas. Stay in the free areas. Practice tests. I gave you places to find free practice tests. Never, never, never pay for a practice test. If you run out of practice tests, you email me, I send you tests. How does it fit into your bright futures? Okay, first of all, if you do not have a floridashines.org account, make one. This is free with your student ID. Okay, it's a state-run website. This will help you track your progress towards bright futures. It includes keeping track of your class schedules, volunteer hours, all sorts of stuff. It's very, very handy. It links right into your right into your student account as long as you have a student ID. Florida Academic Scholars. Now, this is the highest level. This is the one that gets you 100% of your tuition paid for to any Florida State school. You need to have a minimum weighted GPA of 3.5 and either an ACT composite score or an SAT combined score in the 89th percentile. So what does that mean? That means that you need an ACT score of 29 or an SAT score of 1330, and you need 100 in service hours. Now, the way the law is written is that it says that it has to be in the 89th percentile for the previous year. So, does that mean that score could change? Absolutely, if the scores from the previous year were to go up. The 89th percentile on your ACT and SAT, that has not changed in over 5 years. So those numbers have not changed. As far as the 89th percentile goes, those numbers, the 29 and 1330, have not changed in 5 years. The reason the requirement went up for your SAT score, for your Bright Futures, was because the way they wrote the law changed. Okay? It didn't used to be the 89th percentile. They upped the percentile. So that's why your SAT number went up. But as far as the percentiles goes, those have not changed. So we're not anticipating those changing anytime soon. Again, unless they change the law to be the 92nd percentile or something like that. And right now there are no rumors that that's happening. So I think we're safe. Your Florida Medallion Scholars, these are your 75% guys. This is 75% tuition. You need a GPA of 3.0 and then an ACT composite score or an SAT combined score into your 75th percentile. And again, those numbers, your ACT number is 25 and your SAT number is 1210, and you need 75 service hours. Florida Gold Seal Vocational Scholars, if you are going to a vocational school, let me know and I'll help you work through that. If you need your SAT or ACT as an alternative for your FSA scores, I gave you the tables there to help you with that. Again, if you need them for that, for either your English or for your Algebra 1, let me know. I'll help you work through that process. All right, guys, and that is part 1, and I'll be back in a minute to walk you through the other parts of your packet.